3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Good evening. It's Monday again already. Where has that week gone? Welcome along to Reading the Signs with me, Comedy John Ryan, and my pals from the world of comedy, showbiz, entertainment, and anywhere else I can find them, really. Every week we talk about mental health, mental wellness, what we do, why we do it, how we deal with the good times, the bad times. We want you to help as well. Let us have your top tips for well-being. Let us know you're there by putting comments in the box. Do give us a like on YouTube, SoundCloud, Facebook. Just tell your friends, really. And subscribe, of course. Very important that you subscribe at this day and age. Quick mention to Lost Boys UK for this fantastic theme tune. Have a look at my website, happytohealthyou.com. We've got great guests. We've got a great show. We've got a great audience. Let's get to it. Oh, he's here. How you doing, bruv? You good?
Yeah, how you doing, man? Long time.
Let's just have a quick start to the show. Welcome on to Reading the Signs with me, John Ryan, here on mensradiostation.com, also on YouTube, SoundCloud, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, just everywhere, really. Everyone's talking about it where they are in this house. How's your day been, everybody? Do let me know what you've been doing, what you've been up to. It's been a mad day for me today. Back building my kitchen. So I've been humping stuff around all day long. Then I had to go to the shop, got caught in traffic. So a little bit of stress, I'm not going to lie. But it's a good opportunity to talk about stress, how people deal with stress. Everyone's meant to feel it. Don't panic if you do feel stressed. It's just about what's expected of you versus what you can do. Anyhow, as always, tell me how the weather's affected you today. For me, it's been a horrible day because it's been sunny and blue skies. I like cold rain and grey skies. So we all experience the same weather, but it affects us differently. And well-being is just like that. Some people can go through the same situation as others, but they can't deal with it. So just do bear that in mind if you're having a tough time this week. Since last week, I've been doing loads with Network Rail. So I did some 7 o'clock starts last week, one 6:30 a.m. start. Try being funny at 6:30 in the morning to a load of builders for an hour. No alcohol in a canteen. It was great. It was absolutely fantastic. They loved it. They seemed to get a lot out of it. I got a lot out of it as well. So an enjoyable week for all. Then Saturday, Sunday, a little bit of downtime, barbecue. Saturday, went out for dinner with friends Friday. So I've had a good work-life balance this week. Have you all had a good work-life balance? Do let us know that you're there. Put your comments in the chat box on YouTube, on Facebook, on all them places. You know how to do it. You know how to do it. You know what you got to do. So let me tell you about tonight's guest, Jason Patterson. So when I first started out, there was a lot of kind of guys who kind of came and went, and you thought, well, he's going to be a big act. And the thing that made them not become big acts very often was just that they didn't stick around at it long enough. Because comedy is one of those things that the longer you do it, the better you get at it, which is why, in my opinion, most of the really, really good, solid, reliable acts tend to be a little bit older. They've got a bit more life experience, and they've also been around the block a few times. And this guy, Jason, although he only looks 22, he's probably about 60. But he's stuck to it, and this guy is going to be a big act very, very soon, if he chooses to be. Because, again, that's how life works. Sometimes our decisions are made for us, and sometimes it's just what fate decides. Right place, right time, right management. There's a lot of different combinations. But if you stick at it, as I'm sure this guy will, then there's no end to what he can achieve. So with that in mind, should we just give him a proper traditional there you go. Got to give you a bit of clapping. Got to calm the people down.
Thank you very much. That's every week, John. That's every week. That's nothing new.
You know it. As things. What have you been doing today?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I had a day off today, so I've been doing some writing. And I know a lot of comedians say they've been writing, but I've actually been I'm working on a show for the Camden Fringe, so I'm just going over some material for tomorrow night because I'm doing a work in progress show. So just trying to write jokes, man, which is much easier said than done.
So what's the show about?
Well, this show really, I've called the show Mixtape because it's like part of it was written before lockdown. And then the other part of it is everything that happened, what I was going through during lockdown, what I was up to. And so I've just joined the two together. The show I had before the pandemic merged with what I've been writing since. So, and there's a lot of stuff in there. It's, well, yeah, because I split up with my girlfriend literally before the first lockdown. So that was after 4 years. So that was disappointing. Okay. And then obviously being at home like everybody else, I went to my first ever march, my first ever protest after the George Floyd.
Your first ever? So your first ever protest?
First ever. Yep. I talk about that in the show, my first ever protest. So yeah, just how I view things. Like, you get a lot of time to think when you're sat at home indoors for like 6 months. So I wrote a lot of stuff down, didn't write jokes, just wrote things on my mind and then tried to merge them into a show.
Yeah, but the thing is, mate, right, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but I've always seen you a bit like me in that we can hold company in a barbecue, in a front room, at a party, on a bus, hold company. And a lot of the time the laughter comes from the familiarity, that convivial atmosphere that we build. And also that kind of people then get, oh, I know this guy, so I know what he's going to think about this. And then the funnies emerge from this. So when you say you got to sit down and write, that's a good discipline to have, mate.
It's a good discipline. Do you know what I usually do? I write bullet points of things that I want to talk about, and then I go on stage and I riff and just mess around and see what's there. But sometimes when I'm talking about like the protesting and stuff, I'm trying to be more accurate. So that stuff I'm writing out. Yeah, a lot of the other stuff is bullet point, mess around and find where the funny is, record the set and where people are laughing. Okay, cool. That's the direction I need to go in. But some parts, because it's quite deep, it's very poignant for me because I'm quite playful and messing around, but then it gets real serious. You know, I'm talking about police brutality, all that kind of stuff. And so I just want to be more accurate with that because that's not really a playful subject. Everything else is playful, but this part I just want to make sure it's right. Okay,
we can get into that in a while if you're all right with that. Just want to say a quick few hellos. So we have some regular listeners. Mike Smashy McGrain, do you know Smashy in Southend? He's
Mike I know the surname McGrain.
Yeah, because little Smashy.
Yes, I know Ross. Yeah, I know Ross. We've gigged together quite a few. We've done an amazing PTA gig together, but we'll talk about that another time.
Well, this Big Smashy is the man what made him. And a little hello to Robert, who comes every week. The backstory is for about a year I thought he was a psychologist who lived in Spain, but he's not. Right. He fixes watches and he lives in England. Sometimes you got to listen, mate. Listen. And of course, Mark Dorney. This is Mark Dorney, my mate Dawn, who comes every week for a little listen. And
what's up, Dawn?
Just quick shout to him. Tell us about yourself. I'd like to find out where people are placed in their family, if you're all right. Your big brothers, sisters. What's the story?
I'm the youngest, so I've got one older brother. So the youngest of two. It's very small. The family's big. My immediate close family is just me and my older brother.
Okay, and then what's the age gap between the two of you?
My brother, right? My brother's 4. I think there's 4 years. There's about 4 years between me and my older brother. So yeah.
Was he good to you as a kid? Did he boss you about? Did he take you?
Do you know what the thing is, right? When it was just us two, yeah, he's, as the older brother, you get the slaps, the dead legs, the beats. But if anyone messed with me, he'd be the first one to step up. Like, we grew up on an estate in South London, and he knew everybody. So whenever I used to go out, they'll be like, "Yo, that's Jonathan's brother. What's up, man?" So I felt very protected in that way. But he was not like that if it was just me and him.
Yeah, you've got to be in it.
Yeah,
so then,
of course.
Where was you brought up in South London?
Right, I was born in Clapham, Southwest London, and grew up in Wandsworth, Battersea. That's where I've spent. Clapham, Wandsworth, Battersea. That's where I've always lived.
It's funny because I was brought up in Hackney, and those places were like another country. It was just hours away. We would never ever go there.
I never went to East, apart from a few house parties. I never really went to East London until I got into comedy because I had no reason to. I didn't know anyone out there. I used to go because I had cousins on my dad's side that lived in Romford. I'd go up to Tottenham because I had cousins there. But apart from that, my life has been Southwest London, maybe stretching into West London, but I didn't have any reason.
Where are you living now? Where do you live now?
Hackney, need to get a plane. But now I am in Clapham.
Okay.
Back in.
So tell me about school. Did you like school? Did you enjoy school? Was it fun?
Primary school was wicked, man. Primary school was wicked. I had a great time.
Everyone says that.
Primary school is just, come on. Everything is fun when you're out the house and you're around your friends. Even learning is fun. Like I had a great. If I could go back at any stage in my life, it would be a week in primary school, definitely.
Wow, you know, when I was at primary school, I had this friend called Trevor Holloway, and his mum had 5 kids by 5 different men, which is very rare in those days, right? But I thought this was the coolest thing ever. And I remember
Was it rare though, John? Was it really rare?
Honestly, it was especially back then, because there was a whole different mentality, Anyway, so we was at church one day, and my mum used to make us go to church all the time, and we were just sitting there, and my mum said, "You give me a dig in the ribs. What are you doing?" I said, "I was just thinking about one of his dads will be there tomorrow when I get there." She goes, "What?" I said, "I wish I had 5 dads." She slapped me in the church. But it was so cool. You go to his house, and one of the dads would turn up and take it out for football or for Wimpy or just over the park. It was really, really cool. So when you talk about happy primary school days, it's the funny things that we remember, isn't it?
Yeah, I think what made it fun is that I remember this. I got on with my friends' parents. Like you're just saying, I actually got on with all my classmates. Their parents would come in and I'd have little conversations with them. Obviously, it's kid conversations, but I used to talk to like the girls' parents, the guys in my class. It was just cool. I don't remember too many arguments or bad days and stuff like that. It was primary school was largely a lot of fun.
And then secondary school, what happened at secondary school that you didn't like it?
I didn't mind it so much, but that's when you know life starts kicking in. You start realizing, oh, it's not fun all the time. It's getting serious now. You know, you transition from playground to classroom to being a young adult, and it's just, I don't know. It's like when you go for a training day at a job and it's fun, and then you start the real job, it's like not much laughs. Now it's time for work. That's what it was like going from primary school into secondary. It was still fun. I still had a good time, but it just got more serious and, you know, more bad influences around, etc. So,
were you academic?
I would say in English, maths, and drama were the main ones. I was. Everything else.
English and drama I get, but maths, that's a funny. It shows you've got brains.
Yeah, I think that's obviously my dad as well. My mum, they were very keen on, you know, no maths. You got to know your maths. I remember when I was young, I'd ask my dad, what's this plus this? And he'd be like, figure it out. He'd never give me an answer, just figure it out. And he won't, and I wouldn't get a calculator either. He'd be like, pen and paper.
Old school.
There you go. Work it. Old school. Just work it out.
Where's mum and dad from?
My dad is from St. Vincent and my mum is from Barbados.
Okay. Interesting combination, man.
Yeah, good combination. Too small in the character, because Jamaica's the island everyone knows. So all the other islands, you call them small island boy. So that's my family, a small island.
Have you done any of the Caribbean cruises yet?
Not yet. I've got some European ones coming up, but not the Caribbean ones yet.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about that afterwards. But yeah, when you go, it's funny. It's different to going. I don't know if you went as a kid or as an adult to see family out there, but it's funny when you go on a cruise and you see people, Black British, first time they've been Caribbean, and he's on a cruise for a day. We're going to stop off in Grenada for the day and see all the family. Then you see him get back on the ship, just drool, just rum punched out, all their money gone, and sunburned. It's hilarious, man. Hilarious. What did you do after school?
After school, I went to, what did I do after? I went sixth form, then I went to college. And then
what did you do at sixth form? What did you study at sixth form?
All right, I did, in sixth form, I carried on with drama, and I carried on with English. Then when I went to college, I did catering.
Oh, mate.
Because my mum worked in, my mum was doing restaurant work. My mum worked in restaurants and stuff. So I started doing catering with a view of getting a job with my mum. But then in the end, after about a year or so at college, I ended up getting a job in a restaurant.
Wow. What, a proper posh restaurant?
Yeah, it was one of the first. This was like 1996. I was working. It was a vegetarian restaurant on Lavender Hill, and you have to remember it's not like now, but it's vegetarian everywhere. This was like so unique. It had a proper vegetarian menu. Do you remember back in the day? Do you know what a vegetarian menu used to be? Soup, pasta, nut loaf. That was it. Just three. That's it. Just three items.
Take the meat out.
Take the meat out. This restaurant this restaurant had proper vegetarian dishes, and I ended up working there as like porter, commie chef, assistant chef. Yeah, it was crazy. 4 p.m. till midnight.
Wow. My sister decided to become vegan. And that don't work in Irish family, mate. My mum would just make stew and take the meat out. Right. And I've still got a line that I sometimes do about how my sister wants to go to my mum. There's no vegetarian food. My mum goes, there's chicken. And my sister goes, what are you talking about? My mum goes, chicken's a vegetarian, so you can eat that.
That's good, actually.
It kind of missing the point there, woman. So then
in my family, a lot of people, especially the women, they cut the meat out. They'll just eat vegetables and fish. That's as close to vegetarian or vegan as a lot of them will get.
Wow. Just going to quick mention of Dave Sleet, who's our resident psychologist, psychiatrist. Dave's always got an interesting take on stuff. I'm sure he'll have some profound. This man has the most profound sayings based on, life is like the bolt on the Titanic. You hold firm, but once you're underwater, all this kind of, rather than don't do it, undo it. So, how long did you work in a restaurant?
I was there for about 3 years. And after the restaurant, I went and got a job at an agency just doing random catering. So I worked at the Institute of Child's Health I think it's up near Russell Square. I did that, but that was in the restaurant part. That was in the restaurant. Then I left there. I ended up getting a job in a law firm in the city, working in this really nice, the poshest restaurant I'd ever been in. And then after a while, it was so long ago, I can't remember the name. It was in St. Paul's.
All right.
It was in St. Paul's. But all I remember is it was the nicest restaurant that I had worked at. Like, everything was plush. Have you ever seen a blast chiller before?
No.
You know what a blast chiller is? It's if you take a roast chicken out of the oven and you want it to get cold in literally 10 minutes, blast chill that bad boy. And it is so cool, man. It's so cool. I know it sounds quite nerdy, kitchen equipment, but it was. I've never witnessed anything like that before. I was wow.
Could have done with one of them last week, mate.
Well, for the rare summer days we used to get, because the kitchens are hot anyway, right? So we just used to put our bottles of water or Coke in there, blast it for 5 minutes, come out, and it's just perfect. So yeah, that was what I remember from that place.
Where did the comedy come from?
I got into comedy. I worked at a company called Neil's Yard Remedies, organic company. And the head office used to be on Queenstown Road, like not far from where I live. So I was working there, and one night after work, my girlfriend I was seeing at the time took me to Jongleurs on Lavender Hill.
Yeah.
And this was the first half, right? This is how far back it was and how good it was. Opening was Michael McIntyre. Act number 2 was Stephen K. Amos. Then a break, and I can't remember who the headliner was. And I remember going there. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I just remember watching, thinking, I'd never been to a comedy show before. I've watched it live, never been, and I was hooked. I was like, this is incredible. Like, everybody came out just for this. Everyone was silent when the show was on. The guys went on stage and they were brilliant. It was just a great night out. And I just remember going home thinking, oh, this is how naive I was. Oh, I could do this. I think I should give this a try.
Brilliant.
And I did, And then I remember, and I did, and that's when I realized it's not as easy as it looks.
Wow. I think it's about making it. Adam Bloom says it's about making something you've said 1,000 times sound like it's the first time you've said it.
Yes. And I'm pretty sure the acts I saw that night had done their routines thousands of times, but definitely. It just looked so sharp. Everything just looked so good about it. I was just amazed that I used to go to plays a lot. I used to do drama in school. And I like the independent productions because it's like an actor and an actress just on a stage and they're creating a world.
Yeah.
There's no props. And that's what you do with stand-up comedy. There's no props. It's you with a mic and you're just painting these pictures. And so I was drawn into that side. So the drama and the comedy kind of came together the night I went to the comedy club.
So then where was your first gig?
Was at a talent show called Vocal Talent Show in Angel. And I had 5 minutes. I went on stage with my jokes at the time. And I remember I got 2 laughs and I was like, thank you very much. Good night. And the host went back on stage and went, Jason, you've still got 3 minutes left. You don't want to do any. I was like, nah, I'm done, man. I've peaked.
I'm done.
All right, thank you. I'm
Less
done.
is more.
I've got my laughs. Do you know what the thing I remember the weirdest? It was hearing my voice in a microphone for the first time. That was the weirdest part. Not being on stage, but wow, I sound like this. Oh my gosh.
Amazing. So when was your first bad gig?
My first two were good. And then this is going to sound a bit, if my first two were good, my first bad gig, I did, it was on the black comedy circuit because my first two were like mainstream Sunday and Wednesdays. I did a black circuit gig and it was pro act. You know what they're like. They're all pros and one or two open mics. Yeah. And I was the first open mic on and I learned my lesson quickly that night. And one of your previous guests was headlining, Rudy Liquid. And I went on stage and bombed like it was, and I can understand it because I'd gone from being an open micer to the pro arena.
Yeah, you can't do that.
And I wasn't good. And Rudy came up to me at the end and Rudy was like, yeah, listen. Supportive. Yeah, he was just like, you need to go, he said, that's going to help you. He said, that tough gig is going to help you. Now you need to go out and work. He wasn't comforting like, wow, you'll be all right. No. Very direct, like, no, that's good for you, man. Now,
he's very supportive. If you saw the shade did with me, he's been instrumental in me, anything I've done. Instrumental. And then it's difficult because you meet very few people like him. And in my experience, most of the people I've met like him have something in common. So if I mention him, Curtis Walker, John Simmet, Ninia Benjamin, you can see a little theme developing there.
Yeah, they're all Londoners. All Londoners. That's what Londoners are like, you know?
Really supportive, man. Donna Spence, all black acts. Very supportive, man. Very supportive. And when I started, Simmet,
Same with me. When I was new again, I bombed and he was headlining and he ripped the room. And the first thing Slim done, he walked off stage and came straight to me. Yes. Everyone's patting him on the back and he came up to me and he said, come outside. And he just started to school me and just told me this is what you need to do. And he's just nailed this gig. And he didn't even know me. So that meant a lot. So they're the things you remember.
Plus, he knows all the words to every Grease song. That's his dark secret, man. Yes. Because we've done enough jonglers afterwards for him to hang out. He's like, well, I'll just stay for one drink. And then before it, I'm like, where's he gone? And he's like, you're the one that I want. I'm like, still what you doing, man? He goes, don't tell people about this. It's like his guilty secret.
Oh, it's out there now. I didn't know this. I did not know this.
I got dirt on all of them.
My God. Slim should do an Edinburgh show on that. That would sell out.
So then you carry on. You give up the day job. When did you go full time?
I went full time because when I first started was 2009, but I wasn't doing it regular enough. This is one of the things that Rudy said to me. I was doing like one gig every 2-3 months. So that's why he was like, Jay, you got to start doing it every week. Buy Time Out magazine. Remember Time Out? Go to the comedy section, ring up the open mic pages. And so I started doing that. I went full time in about 2015.
Wow.
2015.
And then Ian Franklin took you on.
Yeah, that's when I left my job. When I went there, that was around that time, I'm pretty sure. 2015, around that time.
That's probably when we met. And interesting gigs that Ian, like baptism of fire, mate.
Put hairs on you. That's what Imran Yusuf said. Put hairs on your chest. Mate. You go on the road, you earn your stripes. At the time, and you know what? Like I say, we benefit from that now because you go and do those gigs. They're hard to do. You know what it's like? There's a lot of comedy clubs where they're just great clubs. You turn up, you have a good gig. It's not much because everyone's having a good gig.
Yeah.
His gigs, if you have a good gig, that's because of you, John. That's because you smashed it.
Yeah, that's right. I remember me and Ryan McDonald coming back from somewhere like the back end of nowhere. Ryan going, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm like, what? He goes, no, that's it. I'm quitting comedy for now. I'm not doing it anymore. I went, why? He goes, they hated me. I hated them. We all hated each other. Let's just accept it. And I said, mate, but that's how it works. Sometimes you're the pigeon. Sometimes you're the pavement. He went, no, not doing it. No more. Then about a month later, I want another gig with him. I said, I thought you quit. He went, yeah, but the next night I had to do my last one and I smashed it. So I got the love back.
Isn't that comedy in a nutshell, right? Yeah. 1 minute you're like, it's never going to happen. Then you have a gig that happened to me after Edinburgh. After Edinburgh Festival, my first one in 2015 or 16. After the festival, I was ready to quit, mate. I was ready to quit. I looked in my diary and I was like, I'm going to run these gigs out and then I'm done. And then just like Ryan, I had a really good gig that just brought the love back. And you're like, okay, I'll carry on. Just seems to work.
Yeah, because it's up and down. But the thing is, and that's what Rudy showed you that night, and what Slim showed you that night. Just because you storm it tonight, you're going to get grounded, mate. Tomorrow, you're going to get grounded. Just want to say a quick hello to Beck Harrison, who again pops along, shows a little bit of support every now and again. I've got to go to about 4 other pages to find people who are saying hello because of the way the algorithms work. You know, we can have 100 people watching, but only 3 speaking. That's bizarre.
Okay.
So then, but you're, like I said in my intro, you are a nice man. You're very nice, but you're a good person. And
try to be
nice for me to see people, like I say, from what I would call my school. Not that I own it, but it's people that I recognise in my circle with yourself. And it's difficult sometimes when you see the kind of dark comics or the edgy comics, and you think, and I think you think like this as well. You weren't slapped at school. There's a few comics I've seen. I thought if you went to my school, mate, that would have been kicked out of you by the time you was 12.
Yeah, and it's not even the way they are on stage. Like you said, it's off stage. You look at their behavior, you're like, my goodness. Because a lot of these men and women, they're very good on stage and very funny. Yeah. But it's when you get around them off stage, it's like you just haven't really grown up around the right people. You can't talk like this. Like simple things like talking to staff in the venue a certain way. Little things like that. I'm like, my God, you got that, no manners? No man, this poor lady's working. Don't call her for a drink. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's weird. I've met some interesting, more great people than bad. But I've also met people where I'm like, if you weren't good on stage, you probably wouldn't even be.
You're looking, mate. So you mentioned lockdown. Did you find lockdown difficult?
Well, this is one of the main reasons I wanted to do this show, because this is what I wanted to let you know. In lockdown, and this is just me, I'm talking about me, nobody else. I was fine. Personally, I was fine, right? My family and friends were healthy. One of my friends got COVID and then he recovered. So I was fortunate. I didn't turn to drink or anything. I was cool. The only time I felt depressed was the whole George Floyd incident. That's when I crashed. I mean, I shouldn't say incident because that's playing it small, but I was fine in lockdown. I was okay. I missed doing stand-up. I was working part-time, so I was cool doing deliveries, food deliveries and stuff. So that was 3 days a week. I was walking 3 hours a week. I was good. I'm very good at, like, if you tell me what it is, John, Jason, you're going to have to stay at home for the next month. So dig in. Cool. I'm good at planning, right? I'm going to read books during the day, go for a walk at this time. I'm going to do this. And I was okay. It was only that in the George Floyd murder, that was when I just crashed, man.
What was it about that, do you think? What do you think it was?
Just watching the video, seeing that video, just watching it. If I'd read the story on the news, it wouldn't have hit me as hard. But seeing it, I remember I was going into work in the morning, I was watching it on my phone, and I just went from here all the way down. And it just, it's like I grew up in South London. I was stopped by the police all the time, but I made it home all the time. And all these things started coming back, and hence that was the first march I went to, the Black Lives Matter protest outside the US Embassy, because it's the first one I felt spoke to me directly here, because I've been that. I've just living to tell the tale.
But why that one? Why not all the others? Why that one?
I just think it's because I watched the video of. Don't get me wrong. I've gone to the council have had meetings with the community about, police brutality. I've attended those meetings and I've been there. I might not have said anything, but I've been there. There was a guy that died in police custody, and I'm forgetful with names. And we had a meeting down at Providence House in Clapham Junction. I turned up there to show my support and listen to the police and everybody else. But this protest was the first one that I was like, I've got to get out there, man. I said that I grew up the same way. I just didn't get attacked, but I got stopped like from the age of 13 to 17. I've probably been stopped more times than anyone else has in their entire life, but I didn't get attacked and I made it home, unlike George Floyd. So it just spoke to me.
What's interesting for me about that whole thing? So I've got, black friends who are very aware of their history and their roots. They don't consider themselves British. They look towards the African American experience. They are very, very clued up on life, history, and all the rest of it. Then I've got other black mates, people like yourself, who have always struck me as pretty moderate, easygoing, just get along with it. And I'll be honest with you, my kind of moderate, easygoing black friends, there's not one of them who wasn't disturbed by that whole George Floyd. I think, to me, that's a moment like Princess Diana, like 9/11, like JFK. And it was so, and I could honestly, when we get together, I'll show you my phone, 3 or 4 people who messaged me just distraught, going, mate, would you be willing to make a statement to? I went, of course I am, man. I had a hilarious exchange with about 4 or 5 angry people when I suggested that black people shouldn't march, white people should march, and only white people should march, because then you would see how many white people supported you, and you'd also be disappointed to see how many white people were willing to do that step. And obviously, because I'm a comedian, I made jokes about how black people could sit at home and watch it, popcorn and all that. Asian people could kind of come along and wave flags, but only white people was allowed on a march. And then I had black people going, yeah, but that's racist. We should be allowed to march with you. And I went, yeah, but if you march with us, then the police are going to turn up and beat us all up. So no, we just want you to. Do you understand? But mate,
I get it.
Me being me, Curtis Walker and John Simmet, both, and Jeff Schumann, all messaged me going, mate, that is genius. That is a genius idea and a great routine. But there were 4 or 5 people who really took exception. Were looking at my Facebook profile going, well, clearly he's a racist. He looks like a white thug. He's probably got no black friends, or he probably lives in a very white privileged house. Blah, blah, blah. So what I did was I just left messages for all of them going, let's talk again in 18 months, because nothing will change. You'll get a few black people on the telly, maybe a couple of match of the day, maybe some faces in adverts, but nothing will change. And then 18 months later, I messaged all of them going, here you go, remember me? And I didn't know 3 of these people. They just took it upon themselves to do a pylon. And all of them said to me, you know what, you was right. I'm like, yeah, but you know what, at the time, there was so much passion and anger and frustration. I can't imagine that, having your eyes finally open to the reality of, actually, this is what goes on. Yeah.
Well, that's what done it for me. I mean, first of all, the joke is good, by the way. I thought, it makes sense. And I talk about when I'm at the march as well. That's part of the stuff I've been working on for my show. But for me, the whole turning up there, that could have been me in another life. You know what I mean? Just because of it really got me. And I don't get rattled by a lot of things, mate. I'm very, like you said, I'm quite easygoing, I'm chilled. Yeah. But that moment, everything just came back. And this is something I never realized about me. I put a post on Facebook about the whole incident, and it got all these likes and shares. I was talking to like Mexican guys in America that had the same things, like in California. And there was this guy that I used to do that was open mic with me. And he said to me, Jason, man, is this why you always used to do jokes about being stopped by the police? And I actually forgot, when I was an open micer, I always had stuff about being stopped. And it was like subconscious. I didn't even remember it. But it obviously left a mark that subconsciously I'm writing this material down. I'm going into all my old joke books. I'm like, oh, wow, I've got so much stuff making light of it. It was always there. It was always there. And I don't know, it's just the light bulb went off and it's like, Jay, this is what you need to talk about, man. This is the stuff you need to go on stage.
Yeah, that's where you found your passion.
That's where it is. Everyone's talking about the pandemic. I haven't written one joke about the pandemic, not one. All of them have been about that whole, the Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter, the march, police brutality, me getting stopped. So, it just resonated with me.
So I've spoken about this quite a few times with different guests, because I always try and get guests from my community. And the point you made is the wrong point, because you go, that could have been me. No, that still might be you. And that's the real, that's the
that's it's
the
even now.
Yeah.
Even now. And the bit that gets me is people look to America. They're like, well, that's in America. I'm like, really? I can give you 7 stories for the last year where this has happened to Black British. That's the part that's the people don't understand that part. It's always look at America, look at the States. Oh, well, that's in America. I'm like, really? Look a bit closer to home. We're not perfect over here at all. So that's why I never. You remember in the day you could look at America. There, it's like Look at ourselves. Forget what they're doing. Look at the mess we're making over here. And
but what interests me though is that I think there's no way of saying this. It's been positives have come from it, right? Kane Brown came on and he was talking about how now it's easier. He found it easier with audiences because that kind of elephant in the room has been addressed. You don't, and so he felt that you get a little bit more time to develop ideas and that. When I do the black circuit now, I normally start with, or near the start, say, look, I'm a white male, heterosexual European. It's great that black people get represented, gays get represented, trans get represented, women get represented. But I'm a white male European. When's it going to be my turn? Mate, that will take the roof off.
Dude, I'm doing a bit right now. I'm doing a bit right now about how I feel sorry for straight white men because you lot can't say nothing anymore. Like, no one cares how you think. You get blamed for everything. But in terms of what Kane Brown's saying, he's absolutely right. Because when I start doing this material now on stage about police brutality and everything, people lean in and they listen, where before they might have, but now they're sitting forward, they're paying attention.
Has it helped you find your voice, do you think? Do you think it's made you...
It's helped me find what I'm good at talking about. It's helped me find, I would say my voice, but it's helped me, it's the best stuff I've written since I started comedy. And it's helped me to mature as a comedian because you don't want to make light of this subject, which is what I've always done. So it's the balance between poignancy and humor and just mixing them together. That's all it is. And I think that's what's helped me along. So yeah, it's helped me find my voice, but it's also helped me realize, this is what you want to talk about. Because when I first started, John, people used to tell me, don't talk about race on stage because people will get uncomfortable. And I'm sure you've heard this before from loads of black comedians. And what I found is audiences really don't care as long as it's funny and interesting. Yeah. They don't care.
Well, and again,
as long as you're going somewhere with it, they're cool.
Yeah, but again, got to be really blunt here. The black circuit is different to the mainstream circuit because I've seen black acts on the black circuit trying to talk like this, and people don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it.
Oh yeah, of course.
They come out right. So I clean up, mate, because I then talk about it, and then it's like a different voice, kind of saying, a lot I talked about is just fascinating me to see so many black people marching, man, because none of my black friends will walk anywhere. There's that whole thing about what are we gonna do? Let's just get in the car, man. Just everybody, come on. It's that thing of, but I can say it and get away with it. But you know what I mean? You say that, they'll be like, what are you talking about? What are you putting down your community for? I think
exactly.
Because that was around lockdown, and because that whole Black Lives Matter thing happened during lockdown, I think that kind of accentuated it because people had more time to be at home, watch the news, watch social media. They weren't working and distracted. And I think that there's been a change. This whole woke stuff is now a backlash against that because we don't want you reminding us of how fair it is for you. Because if you just work a bit harder and keep your head down, you can have what I've got. But then when I'm saying that, I've got nothing. And the eyes, they've all got nothing. And it's from above, people making us separate. When really, it's because if we come together, maybe someone will sit down and go, hang on, why do we allow this to happen? Why are we spending these billions on this? Why are we giving this money to the Ukraine when we've got food banks?
Exactly.
Exactly.
I think people are more it's made people socially aware, all over the country, especially younger people. A lot more. And I think like the woke movement, or that's just, in comedy, I find it strange when you can I think comedy should be the safe space. That's where you should be able to go on stage because the point is no one goes out to offend. No one is going on stage trying to offend. Everyone's going on stage trying to be funny. I don't care what you're talking about, how poignant the subject is. Your whole idea is to be funny. And I can understand woke in the world, in like the outside world, but in comedy, and I don't think it's as bad as people make out because I still think audiences are great. But I had my first woke heckle a little while ago, and I was like, wow, I haven't, and that was just off of a premise, off of an idea, and I just thought to myself, no, we can't do this in comedy, man. This is the job. This is
a safe space.
This is where we're allowed to stand and talk about anything. So, I mean, you gig yourself, what do you think of the whole woke movement in stand-up?
I think it's fantastic. Because
Really?
it's allowing, I do. I think it is because, see, I was brought up, it's different. Irish families are different. We are different. If our skin was green, we would be more noticeable how different we are, right? Because in an Irish family, typically, you learn where the line is because you get punched in the face. And it's perfectly acceptable to punch a man in his face for saying something you object to. Because then he can punch you back harder if he believes strongly enough in what he's saying. And so it goes back to what I was saying to you earlier. Not a lot of these comics, they've never had a good kicking, so they've got no. And people go, "Oh, but you're advocating violence." Yes, I am advocating violence. I'm a firm believer in the power of a slap. However,
some people need it.
Mate, I've got a list of them.
Yeah. Some people need it. It will change. It changes you when you know that's what's waiting for you. It changes the way you act.
But
Definitely.
you see, what happens is we go, "Oh, they're woke," meaning what they believe in. What their beliefs are so strong, they're willing to take action for it. That's what woke means. And actually, we should be. Look, I'm 52 now, right? And back in my day, my mates were racially abused. You know what we did? We went on a march, then we had KFC, then we just carried on. These kids, they go to march, they will cancel KFC. They will tear down statues and burn things. Now, and me and Rudy had this argument because I was going, that is very much part of a British tradition going back hundreds of years, all the way back through history. Tolpuddle martyrs, the plug rioters, all these people, when they've had enough, they take civil action. But his thing was, no, it's it's a young black youth coming together. I'm like, no. It's because they're British they're doing it. It's not because they're black youth. It's because they're British youth. And that's very typical of civil unrest comes when people feel there's no other avenues open to them.
That's why you get the riots. That's why the riots happen and things like that, yeah.
But again, riots, what fascinates me about riots is it's never riots in the winter because it's too cold.
And bookstores always remain intact.
There you go. If you look, Google it, no riots in the summertime. Never happens. And if there's riots, the police will go, it's going to rain in a couple of weeks, so we'll let that come down. So you got all these problems going on in your head, right, with the George Floyd stuff and all that. How did you cope then? How did you not kind of get down about it, sad about it, or angry about it?
I read a lot of books. I read a book by Lee. Do you know who Leroy Logan is?
No, he's a Leroy.
Black police officer. He used to be a research scientist.
Oh yeah, I know who he is.
West London, and he joined the police force back in the 80s. Because I used to look at when I was younger, and a lot of the black kids did. You saw a black police officer, it was like, what are you doing, man? You know what I mean? You're the enemy. What are you doing? And this guy joined the police force in the 80s after the police assaulted his father.
Yeah, wasn't it Snorlax? Didn't John Boyega?
Yes, that's the one. That's the ministry. Yeah, but I just thought I got to read this guy's book because it just sounded fascinating. So I was reading books like that. I was talking to other people. I was talking to my friends that I grew up with. I was talking to people that would get it from the 90s that I grew up around. And I started writing my thoughts down. I mean, that's how I deal with a lot of things anyway, regardless of what's going on with me, whether I'm anything that affects me, makes me sad. I'm very good at doing the work up here. And it just got me focused. It got me focused on writing. It got me focused saying, right, this is what you need to talk about.
So were you working as well during lockdown?
I was doing I've been working part-time for since 2017. So I do 3 mornings a week doing a frozen food company, gourmet food company, 3 mornings a week. And so I worked all through lockdown. And that job, I'll tell you this, before lockdown, I remember certain comics used to say to me, you're working you're not real out here, Jay. You're not properly doing stand-up. And you know what? During lockdown, I was seeing these same people online. I'm at home, I'm stuck at home. And I'm like, you know what? I get to go out 3 days a week and be around people. That was great for the mental.
Being around people is, very
being
good.
Around, talking, just doing something rather than these 4 walls, So that job was a lifesaver. So, I respect it more now than I did before.
So what's the aim now then? Do you want to be just go full-time doing comedy, do arena tours,
The aim now is I just want to start doing solo shows, man. I just want to work on the hours. I feel I'm finding my groove. I'm finding what I'm good at talking about. I feel I've got something to say. I don't feel there's comedians talking about the things I want to say. So it's doing the hours. And you know what it's like. You do it yourself when you do your mental health shows. 20 minutes isn't enough. Sometimes you need 45 to an hour to really. I've seen you do your show before, which I saw it. I thought it was incredible. But I've seen you do 20 minutes. You couldn't do that in a 20-minute set.
No.
You need to you got to set the landscape and right, this is what's happening. That's the realm I want to go into now. I don't want to have to mortgage the house to go Edinburgh, but there's other ways of doing it. So I just want to focus on doing hours.
That's the beauty of of modern comedy, because before the agents that chose who was going to be the next big thing. But I think then Mo Gilligan, Kai, people like that, showing, get your following, Slim, get your following, get your audience, Kane. A lot of these young guys doing it. Ali, what's his name? Young white boy, ginger hair.
Ali Woods.
Ali Woods.
Yeah.
Mark
He's
Simmons.
killing it, mate.
Yeah. It's about finding your own niche and building it and not having to go down those traditional kind of routes. Because there's nothing worse. You turn up at a club, there's 200 people pay £10 each, and they're trying to give you a little 50 quid at the end of the night. Exactly.
And you're like, hold on a minute, really? Plus they're making money on the bar and all this kind of stuff. I was talking to Sean Walsh, and he's done loads of television and stuff, and he said exactly the same thing as what you said. He went, Jay, it's not about the Apollo anymore. It's not about doing all of that. It is the online, building your audience and just play into that. Get a podcast, get your podcast audience in a room, play to that. Because I'm saying, like, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing the Apollo. But then I gig with comedians that do the Apollo, and they all tell me not much has changed.
Yeah, nothing's going to change.
Like, we're on the same bill. Like, we're still on the same clubs. We're still on the same midweek lineups. I'm like, but you've just done a BBC One. Nothing's come of it.
No,
so
they buy your material for X thousand, then you burn that material.
And it's gone. It looks good on the CV. This guy has been on live at the Apollo, but in terms of a career push, it doesn't do that much. And this is what I've been told and what I've been seeing. So I think, okay, you need to change.
I once got a trial for a football team because I told them I'd scored a hat-trick at Wembley. And I had, but it was in the car park. And we played 5 sides. But they got me. The coach said, come on and let's see what you got. And I got in the team.
Yeah.
And it was only like months later. He goes, well, this Wembley thing, the lads are saying that you was winding me up. I went, no, I scored a hat-trick in the car park. Jumpers down. And, it's that whole thing.
It sounds good. It's like, man, gets your foot in the door. But this is what I'm saying. At least it got you on this team or a trial with the team. Nowadays, it doesn't get you anywhere. It's like, I've been on BBC. Okay, come do a 10 spot. It's that. It doesn't really carry. So what you were saying is right. It's all about online, building the audience. So that's why I'm trying to direct myself more to the solo shows and take it from there.
Do you have management now?
I do it on my own. I do it until I get someone. I've had a few agents, and some have been good, some have been burnt, and I just think no one's gonna. I'm busier now than I was with any agent before,
because you're
my diary is ridiculous.
You're the best advocate for you because you know what you want, what you need, what you can
and I'm willing. I hustle. I've always been good at hustling for gigs and contacting promoters, and so my live work is. I'll carry on doing that. Anything else, then I'll probably have to look at representation.
So what's the show called and where's it on tomorrow?
My show, tomorrow I'm doing a work in progress at a venue called We Are Funny Project, and it's at Fars in Dalston. Okay. And it's 7:30 till 9:30. I think it's like voluntary contributions at the end. There's a lot of new acts trying material, and then I'm doing like half an hour at the end going over my material. But the show I'm working on is called Mixtape, and it's at the Camden Festival, 2 North Down, 27th, 28th of August, 7 till 8. And it's part of the Camden Fringe. So that's what everything's working towards. And then after that, maybe going and filming it somewhere.
I always like to ask people to tell me what it is that works for them, that helps them get through it. What's their tip they would give anyone else that's struggling? And you seem to be someone who maybe believes in keeping busy is the thing to do. Would you be able to, do you think, come up with anything that advice you would give to people that's going to help them? If I tell you that, like Rudy says, be who you are, and Steve, who's a regular listener, it'll be all right in the end. If it's not all right, it's not the end. Brian Damage and Crystal, they were going about ask other people how they're doing, talk and be there for people. What is it that works for you? What's the Patterson method?
I think this is a mantra. I think that they say in rehab, from what I've heard, and I use it. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you're in a bad place, and something's wrong, clearly something's wrong, you're gonna have to make a change. Yeah, doing the same thing has got you to this point. So just adjust, make a little 5% change to make yourself feel good. If you're hanging around people that make you feel bad, stop hanging around people. People look on it as weakness. It's like, no. If you're looking after your mental, it's strong to say, you know what, I don't want to be around you anymore. So me, I'm very good at doing that. If there's something wrong in my life, I need to change something. So I'm very good at just changing. It gets better. There's another saying, this too shall pass. Right, that's another one I look at. For every, for every dark night, there's a bright day after that. When you're going through the dark times, it's never as bad as it seems. Just hold on, talk to someone.
You're turning into a stereotype now. You're rapping now. You're going to burst into song.
Dude, where do you think I'm getting this from? This is what rappers used to talk about. Rappers used to talk about on their albums. Like, there's a dark night, there's a bright day after that. No matter how bad it is, hold on. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Make that shift in your life. Whatever it is, it could be something minute.
I love them.
But if you're in a bad place, there's something you can change. Make an adjustment.
But you see as well, and if it's stereotypical, it's stereotypical. But I know that my friends' dads, all my Caribbean friends' dads, were philosophers in their own way. And one of my mates, his dad used to have this great saying, keep moving forward. That was it. It would go, keep moving forward. That's it. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means if someone's flinging something at you, you move forward, it can't hit you. And if you keep moving, so you'll meet someone, things will change. I was like,
my uncle who passed away, God rest his soul, my uncle used to say to me, you have to be like a shark. A shark never stops swimming. A shark doesn't sleep. A shark is always moving, no matter what. Cold, warm, rain, sun, a shark never stops moving. And he said, when you stop moving, that's when you're done. So just keep moving. Keep it moving.
Wow. Jason, man, I could talk to you for hours. You've brought
It's been fun, man. It's good to catch up.
Refreshing.
And I love this. You were doing these shows, and I hope this doesn't sound wrong. You've been doing mental health shows before it became fashionable.
Yeah, man.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Years ago, you told me.
2004. Yeah.
Before it became fashionable to do these, you were the first person I knew that was putting on these shows, that was doing comedy and talking about mental health and doing it a lot. So, and I'm glad to see you're still doing it, mate.
Well, you know what? I'm like a typical bloke. Once I find something I can do, I just keep doing it. I'd be a painter. That's my ideal job. Just paint a wall, then start and paint it back again and paint it. But mate,
you're doing this. You've been doing this for a long time, so that's important. I'm sure you're helping a lot of people. People are realizing how important it is now, but you were doing this before it became vote to do this. So well done, you, mate.
Oh, cheers, mate. But look, if you can hang about for about 5 minutes, I'm just going to wrap up the show and then have a quick chat. But that's Jason Patterson, everybody, who's just going to disappear for a second. So what do we learn? What we learned tonight then? Well, quite a few little interesting things, really. That lockdown still has left an impact and a legacy. That the things that happen in the rest of the world affect us, like Jace was saying about George Floyd. Maybe it wasn't George Floyd. I know that a lot of people from our community, in the Irish community, get triggered every July when it's marching season. But I also know people in the loyalist community who get triggered the rest of the year round. We are all connected. We are all linked up. And that's one of the things that Reading the Signs, this show is about, and that Men's Radio Station is about. We are one big family trying to move forward. We're not practitioners. We're not clinicians. We just gently chat to people about what do they do, how do they become who they are, and what is it that keeps them going. There are a lot of people out there who have struggled and who do struggle. And if it's not you, it could be someone you know, or it could be you soon enough. Each week, my guests give their top tips for well-being. Jason's was quality, absolute quality. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Spelt wrong, obviously. But Gordon Southern last week was saying the first thought isn't always the best thought. And if you think about that, actually, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? If you're going to keep doing the same thing all the time, you're going to make the same mistakes. You're just going to repeat them. Sometimes you need to just stop. It's really difficult for a lot of people to ask for help. If you know anyone who looks like they're struggling, you know, two of the most important words in the English language are good morning. If you say good morning to someone, they say good morning back to you. Depending on how they say it, you'll know what kind of mood they're in, what sort of day you're going to have. If they don't answer you, you know they're not in a good place. It doesn't cost much to reach out and ask someone, am I part of the problem? Am I part of the solution? Can I help you? I want to obviously give a big shout out and thanks to our crew at the Lost Boys UK, who believe in empowerment through music, who did the theme tune for the show and who make really great music. They're just young guys, really, really good. And obviously, if anyone is interested in finding out more about me, happytohelpyou.com. We are always there offering talks and different kind of projects, programs. If ever, though, you are in trouble or you're struggling or you know someone's struggling, time to change.org.uk or mind.org.uk. They are great resources. They've got a lot of information on there that can help you or help people around you. Other than that, the mensradiostation.com has got a lot of resources, and womensradiostation.com. You can listen to us on YouTube, on SoundCloud, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Deluxe Radio. But there's always a way. There's enough information out there for people to get help if they want help. If they can't get help, you go and get that help for them. So every day we have different shows on. Every day we have different themes. This month, today, in fact, is Schizophrenia Awareness Day. And I've lost a friend last year who had schizophrenia and who suffered awfully, especially as a teenager. We all just thought he was a bit of a laugh and had a bit of a strange temper. But he was struggling and suffering. None of us ever took the time to find out what was going on with him, why he was so unhappy, what was causing him to have these kind of outbursts. And he suffered all his life on his own, passed away at 49 years of age. It doesn't have to be like that. Schizophrenia doesn't mean that people have got two personalities. Who said that? Who are you? All that nonsense. It's a terrible, terrible condition. People live with it. People survive with it. People struggle with it. The way the media portrays schizophrenia is that they're all lunatics who are going to kill us with spanners and roller skates. People with schizophrenia are more likely to be the victims than the perpetrators of violence. And that's why we've got to challenge these stereotypes, these myths, these assumptions. Jason made a really good point about how he now in his shows talks about George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement. And that's fantastic that he feels empowered to take that challenge on. But unfortunately, the only stigma now that still really is out there, you can't go on stage and make racist jokes or homophobic jokes anymore nowadays, quite rightly, without someone pulling you up on it. But you can still make jokes about people with mental health problems and people with ginger hair. So think about what it is that means makes it acceptable to tease one group over another. If it's only a bit of fun and it's a laugh and a joke, well, that's fine for you. But how does the other person on the receiving end react to that? My friend who passed away was constantly being told he was barking at the moon. And it was a bit of a joke. Look, full moon, Martin, you'll be out howling. But how must that have made him feel? So if there's one thing we can hopefully take away from tonight, it's just trying to put yourself in the shoes of those young black kids who are trying to make a change, trying to make a difference, to make society better, not just for them, but for all of us. And in the same way with schizophrenia, they're not choosing to have schizophrenia. It's part of their journey, part of their life. And that's the thing about mental health and well-being. It's part of people's journey. Very often there is no cure because there is no disease. It's just people's journey. It's just the path that they're walking, and we can choose to walk alongside them or behind them or lead them or guide them or stand across the road yelling abuse, shouting, screaming, and making the situation a whole lot worse for them. We'll be here again next Monday, as we are every week. You can listen to us at 7 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the evening. And if you go on YouTube, there's loads of old shows you can kind of have a tune into. We've always got great guests. Sometimes it's all right to have it on in the background if you don't want to listen to Talk Sport going on about Man United. So why not have a listen to Jason again in the morning with his really, really good contributions that he made tonight. If you've got any subjects that you want us to talk about or bring up, then you can private message me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or you can just leave a comment on the mensradiostation.com website. We will be back next week. Do take care, stay safe, and remember, you're not on your own.
Well, that's the end of another great show. What a brilliant guest that was. I could have spoken to them for hours. Don't forget to check out all the other brilliant shows on the mensradiostation.com website, as well as womensradiostation.com as well. Do subscribe to all of our media outlets, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all those things, but tell your friends. Big thank you to Lost Boys UK, who have provided this fantastic music for the show. Check out my website, happytohelpyou.com. We'll be back next week. Really do take care of yourself, and remember, you're not on your own. You're part of the mensradiostation.com family. Take care. Good night.